Hello, everyone. Blessed evening and welcome to today's live broadcast. So today is a very, very, very casual meeting. It's an outdoor question and answer session. So we received a set of questions from a number of people via text on our Kingdom Ambassadorz platforms. And so I'll be doing well to answer as many as I can. Those that I have very sure answers of, I'll answer. Those that I'm not sure of, I'll tell you I'm not sure of my answer. And those that I don't know, I'll tell you to go and find the answer. So I hope this session blesses someone. I hope this session answers a question that is on someone's heart. So it's an outdoor session. We are actually outside. So I hope you enjoy it and I hope it blesses you. So we'll take the first question. That's a very beautiful question. When it comes to the issue of demand and supply, all right, give and take, it's a two-way thing. It's a reciprocal action. So we don't expect it to be one-sided. So yes, of course, Jesus came to give. He came to bring something. But of course, there is also a responsibility of the people to receive what he brought. Now, that is where it gets a little dicey. So, assuming I said I wanted to feed 5,000 people today, and then I marched out with 5,000, packs of food. That's just step one of the whole agenda. So, I may declare and say, I'm going to feed 5,000 people today. And so, that is what is supposed to happen. And that is what I want to happen. But imagine I step out and then I feed 4,000 people. What happened to the 1,000? 1,000 people were unsure on the source of the food, so they said they will not eat. Now, yes, of course, I came to feed people, but there was a role for the people to also play in receiving what I came to do. So Jesus Christ came to bring peace. He came to offer that life of God, that love of God, to bring peace to the whole earth. But of course, there was a role of people in accepting that peace that he brought. So we'll find out that there were some people who decided to allow themselves to be blinded by the God of this world. And so they didn't see what Jesus brought as peace. They saw Jesus as deception itself. And so for two people living in the same household, one accepts that peace, the other doesn't. Obviously, there will be contention because now they will not be on the same ground. One person believes in the peace the Lord brought, the other doesn't. Then now we have seen that indirectly, Jesus' coming brought war between people who were once united. So it's not as though he was going to personally initiate a war. He was going to initiate contention. But the choices of people will result in contention because of his coming. So that's basically what he meant, basically. What's the difference between a spiritual blessing and then a spiritual gift? Now, in order to understand this very well, I think we need to chop off the word spiritual from the two words. Okay, so now we have a gift and then a blessing. All right, so the first thing is, what is a gift? A gift is something someone offers you that you don't necessarily have to pay for. So a gift is something that is offered you that you didn't work for, pay for. You didn't necessarily have to give anything to get. Now, however, a blessing is just simply an action of goodwill towards you. So I may have blessed you by telling you something, but what I told you was not a gift necessarily. It was just something I told you. But when we talk about a gift, we are talking about something that you got without having to pay a price for it. So now we can attach the word spiritual. So when we attach the word spiritual now, then we are talking about blessings or good things that happen to you or come your way that are not of natural origin. And then when we talk about spiritual gifts, we are talking about things that you received that you didn't pay for, that are not of material or physical origin. So you don't have to pay for a gift, but you may have to qualify for a blessing. Again, I repeat, you may not have to pay for a gift, but you may have to qualify for a certain blessing. So imagine I meet a madman on the road and I decide to dash him some money. I've blessed him, and that is also a gift to him. All right. But imagine I step into the office and I say, today I want to give the worker who reported earliest a new car. Now, would you qualify that as a gift or as a blessing? And the gift. Because the action that preceded the receiving didn't qualify for what you received. Coming early was not enough to pay for the car. So it was a gift. And it was a blessing. Now, assuming I come to work and then I say, the person who came earliest today, I want to have a conversation with you. And then you come into the office and I say, oh, you know what? Today I'm receiving some guests. I just want you to be around and then also have a wonderful time with me as I spend time with them. So the guests come around and you end up learning so much. That was a blessing, but it wasn't necessarily a gift. Assuming I come and then I say, I need someone to wash my car. So you finish washing the car and I say, thank you. Once you consider your washing of my car as something good that happened to you, it was a blessing, but it wasn't a gift. So a blessing is any action of goodwill towards you, while a gift is something that you got without necessarily having to pay the adequate price for it. You get it? So once we attach spiritual, then it means that the same context but of spiritual origin, of non-physical origin. So that is basically the difference between a spiritual gift and then a physical gift. All right, that's quite interesting. Well, my answer to that is that number one, people die. Whether you're a Christian or you are not, whether you were born again or you are not, people die. In fact, God's son died at 33. Think about that. He was still a young man about to start life when he died. So God's son died at 33. People die anyway. Day in and day out, people die. But I want you to renew your understanding about death. There's a scripture that says that precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints. So I want you to see death more of a transitioning home, like a transportation system home, rather than an unfortunate event that has happened to someone. Because once someone is done with their assignment, I see no reason why they should still be around. So once we are focused on purpose and assignment, our interpretation of death becomes different. So now you lose a loved one, and then the next question is why? Why? Probably the person was done with assignment. Probably God needed the person home. Probably the person was about to make a certain mistake that it will be better for him to come home than to be around to do the mistake. So these are all the whys. But coming to it, interpreting it on the negative side, why do loved ones of believers die? Well, of course, Satan is after all of us, and Satan wants to disturb our peace, the peace that the Lord gives us. He wants to disturb the faith that you have. And so in every way, he's after anything that can affect that peace and that faith. And if it will mean hurting someone close to you, why not? Why not? So Satan will very often launch onto people that are around us when he's failed at every attempt to get us. So he goes to God and says, God says, where have you been? He says, I've been to and fro the earth, Job. And then God says, have you considered my servant Job? Then Satan says, yeah, but you've put a wall of fire around him, so how can I touch him? Then God says, don't worry, I'm going to take off that hedge of fire. Now watch this. God takes away the hedge of fire and Satan doesn't touch Job. Okay. God says you can do that, but don't touch Job himself. Satan doesn't touch Job. He goes straight to Job's children, Job's flock, Job's investments, the houses he's built, stuff. He goes straight for those ones. And then those things are meant to affect Job's faith as far as God is concerned. Like the last resort was touching Job himself. So now we can see something like that. Look at Jesus. Satan came to him and found nothing in him. Right after that, he goes for people like Judas, Peter, and then he tries to test all the guys. So it is almost a natural strategy of every military person to go for things or people that are close to you when they cannot have access to you. You know, during the earlier World War, one of the things that happened to Hitler's men was that there was a man called Bomber Harris. Bomber Harris was working with the British. Now, when at sea, when the ships were fighting, the British ships were huge, while the German ships were very small. So the British ships would throw so many bombs and it will at random hit one of the German ships. But the German ships will put little or no effort into throwing a bomb or aiming, and then it will definitely hit a British ship because the British ships were so huge. Now, they realized that this was a losing battle they were fighting. Then Bomber Harris came up with a suggestion that why don't me and some of the troops leave with bombs and go to Germany and go and fight? And they brushed off the idea initially. But later on, when none of their strategies were working, they resorted to Bomber Harris's idea. So what they did was that they allowed Bomber Harris and then a few others to go to Germany and then go and start bombing the capitals and any place where the people were, because there were a lot of women left in town, and these people were diligently killing the women. Guess what happened? When the German men at shore heard that their wives and their children were dying at home, it distorted their thinking, it killed their morale, and a lot of them wanted to flee, to go back home to care for their wives and their children. So they nicknamed Harris Bomber Harris because of that. So you realize that it's a normal military strategy to go for people that are close to the person you love rather than to go for the person, because it affects the person's morale, the person's zeal, the person's focus. So as a believer, it is natural for Satan to do that. That is why you must take the ministry of intercession, standing in the gap for others, World Cup. And that is why sensitivity must be very key to you. Recently, I had a case where someone very close to me, I was interacting with the person, and then God said, the person's brother's child is going to die in 3 days' time. So intercede for the child. And I'm like, wow. So first I said, well, this is something I'll handle on my own. Then the following day, it came on me again that no, tell them, all of you should collectively pray. So I told them, and they were like, what? So Commander, for a week now, the child, a baby, hasn't pooped. The baby is messed up. You can see that the baby is really sick. And right after the day, I said, then today we are fasting. Right after we fasted and prayed, everything came out. The baby was fine. So intercession, praying and having in mind and being sensitive as far as the people around you are concerned, it really helps. So, thank you. For me personally, like this, when we are talking about the natural self, by as far as I'm concerned, naturally, I'm a sanguine and a phlegmatic, basically. So, in layman terms, I'm saying that I don't care. And number two, I'm very sluggish or slow at taking decisions. That's my basic temperament. So somebody like me, I'm always in dark colors as well. In fact, my personal favorite color is black, because I don't need much effort as far as black is concerned. However, in my dealings with God, as I continue to grow in the things of God, mature in the things of God, gets more sensitive to God. After so many try and errors, God says, do, you don't do. Then you realize, I should have. God says, pick this, you didn't pick it. After, I should have taken this. God says, dress this way, you got out, then this happens, I should have. God says, take an umbrella to this, umbrella, Charlie, you stepped out, it started raining, God told me. After so many trials and errors, I've gained a certain level of confidence as far as obeying such subtle instructions or such subtle thoughts are concerned. And I've come to realize that whenever God tells me, dress this way or do this, it's part of something bigger. It's part of something bigger. And so, for example, there was a time where God gave me the color white. And oh boy, I said, no, white. He said, your room should be white. Everything should be white. I said, hey, God, I think that the letter came to the wrong address. Yes. But in obeying that instruction, it wasn't easy. But in obeying it, I'm now seeing the fruit and the essence of it. For example, I was telling some people, like last year, God told me, he says, just wear black and white throughout. Black and white, black and white, black and white. So I got a number of black tees and white tees. Okay. So I was supposed to be wearing them like all the time, but I couldn't. I wear them small, then sometimes I'll not wear them, sometimes I'll wear them, sometimes I'll not wear them, sometimes I'll wear them, sometimes I'll not wear them. But now looking back, I realized that I should have stayed strictly to the pattern that God said for me. So the fact that God said it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. All right. So for example, in this season, God has said, blue is the color. Blue. Now, I don't want to go to Google and go and be searching what is the meaning of blue and all. No, I just want to listen to God and then try as much as possible to flow and then to move with what God has said to me. It's not easy. I recently had to dash out all my black jeans because once they were around, I'll wear them. I will not wear the blue jeans. So I had to dash out all my black jeans recently. Then I realized that I also felt a very strong prompting to go into maybe green teas and then brown teas. But it's not been easy. So I said, Charlie, I'm going to try my best. And I'm trying as much as I can. But it's not easy. But when God speaks, some way, somehow, it gives you the strength to at least take the first step. And in taking the first step, you gain a little more confidence to take the next step. And after taking 3 steps, you realize that, it's actually not that difficult. This is how to take the step. So it helps you take the 4th step. And then before you realize, you start getting used to taking steps. And the next thing you realize, you're actually running with the instruction. So I would say, as a tomboy or somebody who is used to a certain particular dress pattern, and then you feel in your spirit or God inspires you or a certain beautiful idea comes to you that in this season, switch to this. I would say take it one step at a time. And let that one step to give you confidence to take a second. So take it one step at a time. Decide that, okay, fine. Maybe in this season, I felt like getting something purple. That's so off as far as maybe your color patterns are concerned. But decide, you know what? I'm taking one step at a time. I'm getting a purple wristwatch or a purple bracelet, or I'm getting a purple headband, or maybe I'm doing a purple shirt. And once I do the purple shirt, we'll see where we'll take it on from there. And then after you get the purple shirt, try it on a few times and say, okay, I'm getting a second purple shirt. And then say, I'm getting a third. And then maybe I'm doing this, I'm doing that. So my advice to you is take it one step at a time. And that one step will give you confidence to take the next step. And then that will give you confidence to take the third, the fourth, the fifth. And before you realize, you've taken off. So that's my answer to you. Well, I wouldn't per se, I don't have anything against it, and I don't necessarily have anything for it. But what I would say is that there are different physical habits that we can cultivate that enhance our time here on earth. One of the greatest gifts God gave us is the journey, the time here on earth. And so we are to make the most of the time He's given us here. and we are to do the best with the time He's given us here. There was a quote I heard some time ago that really blessed me. He says, God took His time to make it. Jesus died for it. The Holy Spirit lives in it. I'll be a fool to not take care of my body. So the body is such a valuable, ingredient in this recipe of life. And any action you can take to enhance the body in any way, I mean, naturally, I don't have anything against it. Exercising, hitting the gym, doing special, exercise partings, going on special diets, restricting yourself from a lot of processed foods and all. These are good things that enhance you. And a lot of people don't know that when you are physically sound, it helps you as far as the soulish realm is concerned. When you're physically sound, it brings more peace to your soul. Your soul is able to work better. It's like saying that when you rest more, you are able to think better. Now, once solical activities are enhanced, then that means that information is able to be passed easier from the spirit to the body. So, generally taking care of your body and enhancing your body and making sure your body is sound, in the end still affects your spirit. So, being a vegan, not eating meat, once you're going to replace everything you're going to get from the meat with more natural sources from plants, why not? I think it's great. So, yeah. Wow, what is love? Well, that's normally I'll just want to brush you off by saying maybe love is God, and God is love, but in a more practical sense, I would say love is that nature we can exhibit that looks the most like God. So love is basically the nature we can show that looks the most like God. Love, according to the apostle in 1 Corinthians 13, says love is kind, love is patient, love does not have any record of wrongdoing and all. He was only trying to describe natures of God. So love is the most fundamental nature of the Father. And so love is that attitude you can have that looks closest to God. And I mean, basically, love is just valuing someone more than yourself. Love is seeing someone through the eyes of God. Love is knowing someone's purpose and doing everything you can to help the person accomplish it. That's love. I think that's what I'll settle on. Love is knowing someone's purpose and doing everything you can to help the person accomplish it. Yeah. So, if a lady is meant to be growing in terms of academically, and you enter a relationship with the person and you're on phone with the person for more than is due in the name of love, that isn't love, because at that point you have to help her accomplish the purpose of gaining knowledge so she can be a greater blessing to people in the future. So love in that season will mean telling her it's time to study. Yeah. So I think I'll settle for love is knowing someone's purpose and helping them with all your might to accomplish it. Helping them God's way to accomplish it. So that'll be my answer to you. And I think on this note, I hope the live session has been a blessing to you. I hope you've learned something. I hope other people's questions have found a way of being a blessing to you too. So thank you so much for joining in. If you know anyone who needs any of these answers, you can feel free to share the link to them. And I think you should share the link to everyone so they hear. And God bless you so much for joining in. My name is Commander L, and I'm signing out. Shalom.